When the world and I were young, just yesterday, life was such a simple game a child could play. It was easy then to tell right from wrong, easy then to tell weak from strong. When a man should stand and fight, or just go along. But today there is no day or night. Today there is no dark or light. Today there is no black or white.
So, JP.
Hey, Ron.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, hey there.
Hey. The beer opens.
Yes.
Nice.
Opening of, this is the penultimate episode before our grand year-end finale.
Holy crap, I feel old.
I know, right? We were such young bucks at the beginning of this
I know,
podcast.
we've gained so much wisdom since
And weight.
Hi, folks. We are Delusions of Granular.
That's right. I like opening it kind of that way, a little.
Delusions.
Welcome, everybody. Here we go.
Hey there.
Oh, do you want to do the Facebook stuff?
Yeah, I'll go into it.
Yeah, I did last time.
We are Delusions of Granular. I am Ron.
I'm JP.
And together we form
Delusions of Granular. Like to make the title that much more hard.
That's right. Folks, we are a podcast. We talk about Star Wars. Some would say we get granular about Star Wars. Mm-hmm. You can find all of our episodes, a year's worth almost.
Damn near it. 51.
At delusionsofgranular.com. You can always find us on Facebook, facebook.com/SWDOG.
Join the conversation.
Also, follow us on Twitter at SWDog77. I haven't really been active on Twitter. I need to get back on that.
Yeah, I haven't had my listening ears open for that.
Yeah.
No. Feel free to also join the conversation and give us a call at 651-337-9364. That number again, 651-33-SW-DOG. What you'll hear is you'll go right to voicemail. You won't actually have to talk to us because it's 2015 and who wants to actually talk to anybody. You just leave a message and tell us whatever's on your mind. And, if it's clean for air, cleanish.
Cleanish.
As clean as,
Right, because we don't swear.
No.
Fuck that.
Fuck no. So, leave us a message and let us know what's on your mind and become part of the conversation.
That's right. Or if you want to catch every episode when it comes out, you can subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher. We are on there. Just do a search for Star Wars Delusions of Granular. We should pop up.
And, of course, if you're not comfortable calling in and becoming part of the conversation that way, always feel free to send us an email at swdog77@gmail.com. We will read it aloud if you want us to. And it's not
right.
super long.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I do an episode like this. It's like
just reading along.
Read like 38,000 words. It's like 5 hours long.
We read like the entire ring theory.
Yeah. It's like someone emails that in. We're just like, well, we're happy to have fan response.
Yeah, it's an
like,
email.
It's just like a filibuster.
Yeah, it's an email. We'll read every email, even if it's just a straight copy and paste.
Yeah. It's like, this is a Wikipedia article of what Star Wars is.
Somebody wrote it.
That becomes our most highly ranked episode.
Not our ideas, of course.
So leave us an iTunes review if you can. That helps us with the rankings. But what we really, really care about is that you share us with your friends if you like us.
That's right.
We got real friends out there.
If you have friends, they like Star Wars, they like listening to two idiots talk about Star Wars, we're perfect for that.
Have them listen to throw some other podcast under the bus.
Video games.
Yes.
Time-consuming, time sucks of the world.
Yeah.
Everyone does them. You and I, not so much.
No, it's I honestly got out of the hardcore console game post Sega Genesis, and like that used to be like kind of weird, and now it's like people are just like, whoa,
yeah,
like it's really old.
Outcast, yeah,
yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, I've played plenty of games. I've played a lot of the heavy metal games and stuff. I had roommates back in the day. I would play on PlayStation 3 and such.
Sure,
PlayStation 4 even.
Oh,
yeah, look at me.
I don't think I've played PlayStation 4. I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. I think I had 3.
Maybe I guess I
don't know.
I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know.
Long story short, neither of us are game experts
No,
anymore.
but the games are coming.
Yeah. It's game time.
If you are of any age, you're going to be hit with some Star Wars game that's going to appeal to your demographic.
And usually we could turn a blind eye to all these because we don't have consoles, but a lot of them are mobile now.
Yeah, there's going to be a mobile game. There's going to be a console game. There's going to be a mobile and console game.
Mm-hmm. Oculus Rift.
VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that's near and dear to my heart, I know nothing about, but it has collectibles, so I'm being drawn to it, is the Disney Infinity 3.0.
I thought you were going to talk about the Topps trading card app.
No. Well, let's not talk about that.
Okay. Have they been releasing stuff for that still?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there new stuff?
There is, but they get you with, like, in-app purchases. Like, if you want the real cards, you got to, like, fork over some money.
Long-time listeners will know that Ron's history of Star Wars was he was a big-shot collector, and enough so that he sold all of his toys at some point when he got off,
when
he finally kicked the habit.
Yeah, when I kicked the habit.
And paid for a down payment on his condo.
Right.
So tell me roughly ballpark, how much have you spent on that in-app purchases? On?
Oh, I have not.
Oh, really?
No, I have not spent any. No,
okay.
No. I have a problem with in-app purchases. You're basically spending money on nothing.
Right.
Because eventually that app will be deleted from your phone.
Yeah. That's a kind of an underlying theme of this podcast is me waiting for Ron to relapse in a big way.
Well, that's where Disney Infinity comes in.
Oh, here we go.
Because Disney Infinity, I really know nothing about the gameplay, but they're tied into figures. Like, there's little figurines.
Well, Christ, we watched so many of that fucking commercial on the Star Wars Rebels on the Disney app.
Right.
You know?
Right. So,
I just kept playing that over and over again.
as we speculated,
yes.
Disney owns Disney Infinity, obviously. There's been Marvel characters.
Yeah, they did Guardians of the Galaxy. And
they've done the Avengers, sure.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of Disneyfied, or at least cartoonified.
A little bubbled, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so all the figures are very bubbled or angular, very cartoony.
Sure.
Right? But they're cool. They're more figurines than actual moving part figures.
Yeah.
But they're cool, and somehow they tie into the game. I'm not entirely sure how that interacts. They're kind of like bigger Hero Clicks. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hero Clicks is... Yeah, this is kind of the offshoot of Hero Clicks, I suppose. Anyway,
not literally,
the Star Wars, being a Disney entity now, is going to be in Disney Infinities, and we've seen previews of the characters, the figure models.
Yep.
All of them look very cool. We've seen prequel figures. We've seen OT figures. We've seen Rebels figures. All of them. Well, maybe not so much the Rebel figures, but the OT and the prequel figures look pretty darn cool.
Yep.
I'm sure I will be drawn to purchasing one or two of those.
Yeah, a lot of the prequels characters, I read an interview with one of the character designers, and they kind of inadvertently took a lot of inspiration, or ended up in the same destination as the designs for the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah.
I read a whole thing where he was talking about they didn't set out to make Obi-Wan look just like Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars, but when you start reducing things down like this,
to their basic elements,
they kind of got similar,
pretty close. Yeah. So that'd be cool. I'm excited for that. Star Wars Battlefront.
Yes.
Right, a multiplayer game.
We'll get to see
online.
Jakku? Question mark?
Yeah, right. Like, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, there's already an established fan base for this.
Now, this
game.
This is what led me to believe that the games were canon, because it kind of sounded like they were trying to do a whole new
seems like a
New World Order thing where like games, like comics, movies, books, and games were all canon. Which I was like, well, that's all of it,
right?
You know, that's
video games seem to be the dare I say the gray area,
right?
Yeah.
Very true.
But so there. A few weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago, they've shown like a trailer for it where we see kind of a battle on Endor, and there's rebel soldiers running around. Some of them are 9 numb characters, Celestians. I don't know what their races.
We had a big debate about whether that gameplay looked playable.
Well, this was just a trailer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing with video game trailers is like, well, how does this reflect actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can do anything with CGI, but like when you get into gameplay, like how realistic is this trailer?
Yeah. At what point is there a boundary where I start running into an invisible wall?
Right.
Like, yeah.
So now we've seen actual gameplay trailers. Okay? We've seen like a battle on Hoth. We've seen a battle on maybe it's Jakku, maybe it's Tatooine, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw an article about that too. That what we think is Jakku with that downed starfighter might in fact be Tatooine.
Sure. Here's my take on this.
Yeah.
And I believe this is a similar take. Nothing in this looks like it's any different from any other franchise.
Yeah.
Right? This looks like it's Halo in a Star Wars setting.
Only not as cool, weirdly.
Yeah, right?
Like, yeah, I remember you and I had a lot of pie-in-the-sky ideas. I think if people go back to, I don't know, episode 20-something maybe, when they first started announcing this stuff, we were really talking about how like this is going to blow everything out of the water, blah, blah, blah. We have a mutual big-time gamer friend.
Yes.
Who was just like, licensed games suck, it's going to blow.
Right.
And
we were like, no, this is Star Wars.
yeah, you have no idea what's going to happen, how much money's behind all this.
Mind prepare to be blown.
Yeah, you fool. And, yeah, it looks like it is kind of running the mill.
Yeah. Well, like I was trying to figure out the essence of why this looks like run of the mill. Okay? So we see footage of like rebel soldiers running around on Hoth, like shooting at like snow troopers and shooting at Imperial walkers. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, the blaster fire. It looks wrong. Like it's like rapid fire blaster fire, right? Like, do we see rapid fire blaster fire in this in anywhere other than video games?
Right.
Right. I'm like, okay, well, let's go back to the original trilogy. No, there's no rapid fire blaster fire. Right. I even looked at like Rebels.
Yeah.
Right. Rebels takes place in between the prequel area and the original trilogy.
Right.
Right. There's no rapid fire blaster fire going on.
And even if there is, Rebels physics is very different from the rest of the films.
But it's not. It isn't. Like I was looking.
Like when they use force stuff.
Sure, but I was just focusing on blaster fire.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a little bit of a delay, and you can't have rapid fire.
Interesting.
Okay. So then I was like thinking back to like, okay, when do we see like a real like a gun battle in the OT? Right.
Sure.
We see at the beginning of A New Hope.
Yeah.
Right. Which seems these are professional soldiers fighting, professional soldiers.
They're using more rifles.
They're using rifles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I would imagine have more.
But there's no rapid fire. Like there's fire, but there's no like machine gun fire.
There's a lot. There's a lot of people firing, but
yes,
there's not.
There's nothing like. There's not like a spray of laser beams flying out of.
Sure.
Which is what the game seems to be having.
Right.
So then I'm looking at like the when they're breaking Leia out of the detention block, right? And this was where I was like, huh. So we have Han and Luke, and they're dressed as stormtroopers, and they're carrying, rifle blasters, right? And they're holding them like two-handed, like not one-handed, like two-handed. And I'm like, what if blasters aren't like just like traditional guns in our world?
Yeah.
What if they're harder to control? I mean, there's like energy coming out of this. Like you would think that maybe they're a little bit harder to control.
Sure.
There's a two-handed weapon.
Well, and
Lucas always said that a lightsaber is a two-handed weapon until he said it's not.
Also with traditional guns, rifles in particular, there's an issue of barrel droop.
Sure.
If you shoot too much, the barrel gets too hot and starts to droop.
Yeah.
I mean, you're shooting pure
energy right?
here.
Yeah.
I mean, that would support your theory of like, well, it's hard to make something that can handle like
right.
So what you're getting at here is that the gameplay is going by just generic gameplay. It's not actually taking into account the physics of the Star Wars universe.
Exactly.
Interesting. So we are going to write Battlefront off as non-canon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've written it off as I'm not going to play it. I'm too old.
Right. It just doesn't seem to have enough story for me. To be like, if I was gonna,
there's no main character. I mean, it's all multiplayer, so it's like,
and it's like a bunch of different worlds. It's kind of greatest hits of battles.
Yeah.
This is not my bag.
No.
So transitioning into something that has a little more story, though.
Yes.
And now this one is one that really confused me a couple episodes ago, because some press releases talked about it as canon.
Sure.
But StarWars.com doesn't actually use those words, or I couldn't find it.
Well, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to go back to StarWars.com because a lot of people report on these stories and they're like, this is canon. I'm like, okay, but StarWars.com didn't say it's canon, so...
Yeah, someone reports that from their dorm room. It's like, whatever.
Right.
But the Star Wars Uprising.
Star Wars Uprising. Now, this is the one that's... other than my collecting fetish, this one intrigues me because it is a mobile game.
So you have the console in your pocket.
Right. I can play it on the way to work.
Play it on your iPad.
Exactly.
Yes.
Although, just from the graphics alone, looks very 90s.
It looks kind of Doom. Yeah. Is this what they call an MMO, Ron?
I don't know the play on this. Is it an MMO RPG? I don't know. I don't know the actual gameplay on this. It seems like there's a heavy story in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of Final Fantasy-esque kind of like inventory lists.
Oh, gotta love the inventory list.
Well, that's what it's about. You go back to your list and you start looking at it.
Right.
You know.
Right. Like, I love inventory lists, except in real life. Like,
Right.
if I have to take inventory of my life, that's just boring. But
Sad.
in video games, I will micromanage the shit out of it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you get really on top of that. So I'm definitely interested.
Now, this takes place like minutes after like the Battle of Endor, right?
Right.
Like, across the galaxy.
And like remarkably disrespectful. Just I think we covered it a little bit a couple episodes ago, but for those of you who haven't caught it yet, this literally picks up. The trailer shows there's some goateed, muscular general of the Empire saying, "Hey," I'm just going to summarize.
Sure.
Saying the Emperor is not dead. Everyone who says he is a treasonous dog. Everything's cool. You're going to stick with me. We're going to take care of some shit. And then like it pulls back and it shows him standing next to a ridiculous like 90s comic book style armored out
stormtrooper / Darth Vader.
Yeah, faux Darth Vader.
Right.
Yeah, and like just super shoulder pads,
Yeah,
super
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you ever go to DeviantArt and you start looking at like Star Wars fan art stuff?
Yeah.
That stuff that's like, well, those are elements from Star Wars, but they do not look like they belong in Star Wars.
Well, the whole thing, like in like the 90s, you had that video game Star Wars, I believe it was Dark Forces.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, yeah.
introduced the character of a space trooper.
Space Trooper.
Right? And that was like heavily armored stormtrooper. Right? Already rings false. Because if you look into the like corners of the screen in A New Hope,
Yeah.
when the Falcon is being pulled into the Death Star by tractor beam,
Yes.
they're in space,
Yep.
right? And you see the Falcon being pulled into the docking bay, right? And on the edges of the frame, there are stormtroopers in space. Just regular stormtroopers.
Really?
But they have backpacks on.
Oh.
And the reason I know this is because I'm a collector. And Sideshow Toys, I believe Sideshow Toys is coming out with a figure of that, a space stormtrooper.
Sick, dude.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, this is stupid. And then they're like, no, it's from the original movie. Like, even before the special editions.
No, fanboy.
Yeah.
We've outfanned you.
Yeah, Sideshow Toy outfanned me, and I'm like, oh, damn it. They got it right.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Sideshow Toy.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, Star Wars is much more, I mean, in some ways, I was just about to like make an analogy and it just walked back on it. I was going to say it's much more Apple than Microsoft, but that's not true.
No.
There's a lot of broken ass shit and a lot of...
Yeah, well,
but
they're fixing all that because they're wiping out like all this stuff that's not canon. But then they're adding all these video games, and I'm like, well, where does it fall in?
So, but as this podcast now, we've almost been doing for a year.
I see
We've
you're trying to make the transition to what the show's really about.
Ah,
I see you. I see that glint in your eyes. Like, enough with this shit. Let's talk about what we want to talk about.
Ron has spotted my segue and definitely found a way to step on it. As over the past year, we've come to appreciate the EU, research it, understand it, and appreciate it for what it was.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
And now there's a new canon establishing itself.
Exactly.
Which Force Uprising may or may not be part of. See, it's funny how quickly, I guess this is where we can mark it. Because early on they announced there's going to be a new canon solidified. Where, finally there's no more... For old school fans, people who aren't just, jumping on with the TFA, and if you are, welcome. There used to be 6 levels of canon, right?
Sure.
There's G level, which
G
was
level is George Lucas level.
Yeah, that means Word of God.
Yes.
And then the various levels below that up to kind of sort of it was in a book, but we don't know if it's really real and it doesn't feel right.
Right.
Already we're getting that. Star Wars Uprising is it might be canon, it might not be canon. It's taking place in that 30 years in between Jedi and TFA.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's already getting blurred. It's already getting gray.
But already you can see stuff one of the big concerns you and I have talked about repeatedly about The Force Awakens is that it steals the drama from the ending of Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes.
It steals away by being oh, that great victory where we saw all those wonderful worlds celebrating, it wasn't really a victory, right? And so immediately if this is putting it in no, it wasn't a victory, right off the stop, and here's a super stormtrooper we've never seen before, and just trying to fill in the gaps.
Yes.
And that brings us to the topic of tonight's episode.
That's right. The Star Wars originally was a black and white. There's clearly cut good guys.
Yeah.
Clearly cut bad guys.
You can tell by the costumes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, moving the story forward, there's gray.
Very much so.
Gray areas.
Gray areas. Gray, someone called them plot devices.
Well, sure. I mean, if you're going to deal with a world that's only black and only white, where are you going to go from there?
Right.
Right.
Because as you want to tell more, as you go beyond one movie into a trilogy,
Yes.
it already gets more complicated.
Yes.
By the second movie, we now have an emperor. We have a Yoda.
Right.
Things are getting more complicated.
Sure.
By the third movie, more complicated still. Now your main good guy is wearing black.
Right.
And so
Right.
things are really changing. Then you get to the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And things are, it's off the wall. The Jedi were supposed to be the good guys, kind of turn out to be these kind of weak-willed, gray area stuff.
Sure.
Go beyond that, do a TV show, do the Clone Wars. Start introducing a lot of characters
A lot of things are
Because-
getting blurry.
Because it's a classic thing. When you start going higher resolutions, you need more pixels to show the picture.
Right.
So tonight, this morning,
Yes. This afternoon, wherever we are,
we'll be discussing
the gray areas in Star Wars, and more specifically, the gray areas in the Force wielders.
Yes, we really
Right?
had to limit this down.
Yeah, because we talked early on our show about the underground world. That is, the bounty hunters that, basically work for hire.
Yeah.
So they're not good guys, they're not bad guys.
The crime syndicates, like the Black Sun versus the Helots.
Yeah, the dirty areas of the Star Wars universe.
Dirty Star Wars,
Dirty
as
Star
we
Wars,
called it.
As we called it. This is not dirty. This is the blurry line. And this is really the blurry line because, what we were given in the movies was you're either a Jedi or you're a Sith.
Yeah.
Or the big or.
A plebe.
Or you're Han Solo, who uses a lightsaber to cut open a tauntaun.
You've really latched onto this as being the moment.
That's the moment,
linchpin of,
right? That's
where
the
things
moment.
change.
Well, that's the thing. Is up until that point, they're even in the prequels. There's no non-Jedi or non-Sith using lightsabers.
Yeah, you could look at when Luke Skywalker fires up his dad's lightsaber in Obi's hut as a sword and stone moment.
Sure.
As almost like oh yeah, he's got the Force. 'Cause
Right.
He turned on the
right.
shit. Yeah.
That some would you could argue.
Yeah.
As soon as Luke turned on that lightsaber in Obi-Wan's hut, he's a Jedi. No more training is needed.
Yeah.
You were able to find the on button on this thing? That makes you a Jedi.
You didn't point at yourself?
Oh, well, that's a meme going around that
Right.
he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we were given in, established in the movies is you're a Sith or you're a Jedi,
Sure.
right? But
Do we actually hear Sith? When do you first hear Sith?
damn it, JP.
Sorry, Ron.
Damn it.
Sorry.
You
stuck on my segue?
No, that's harsh. It's harsh because, like, in planning for this episode, and we've been planning for this episode for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
My goal was to look up when Sith is first mentioned in the movies, and guess what I didn't do? I did not look up when Sith is first mentioned in the movies.
That is absolutely fine. I'll put our crack team on it.
All right.
In the meantime.
So, as we have learned, and really this kind of did start with the prequels, right?
Right.
We have characters that are not Sith and they're not Jedi, and yet they use lightsabers, right? I think, although it's not on our list of characters, I think the real big one is probably Count Dooku, right? Because he was a Jedi that kind of became a Sith.
Right. That's a precursor to what we'll see with Darth Vader.
Right. So he's really the one that's like, but is he really a Sith?
Well,
Like,
that's when we start getting that kind of complicated stuff of
is
Rule
he
of
ever
Two.
is he ever like referred to like directly as Darth Tyrannus?
I mean, directly, or someone says, "Hey, Darth Tyrannus."
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
not sure.
Hey, Darth Tyrannus, look
But-
out! That ball's coming towards your head. I don't think that ever happens.
There is the Sith are easier to focus on than the Jedi because the Sith put out this. There's a rule put out, Rule of Two.
Rule of two. Yes.
Master and apprentice.
Right.
That's it.
Which is, I mean, that's the crux of this episode and of this problem we're dwelling on is the fact that, like, there's strict rules for the Jedi, there's strict rules for the Sith.
Right.
There can only be two Sith. Jedi, can't have sex and can't, have relationships or attachments with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, what if I'm like trained as a Jedi and be like, I don't like that one rule. I want to have sex and I want to, have a relationship. Like all of a sudden that makes you
A Sith?
right. Like
where's the line?
Yeah, so there's a big gray area now, right?
Which is what we'll be discussing tonight.
And
This morning.
whenever.
Yes.
So this gray area, I mean, like, we say it's a plot device because, like, at a certain point you need to tell more stories because Star Wars in itself is a huge enterprise.
We need more bad guys.
You need more bad
good
guys, right?
To fight the bad guys.
Right? And if you only have two Sith at a time, like,
It's hard.
it gets hard.
Well, because the problem is, Ron, is that supposedly you can't have a lightsaber if you're not a Sith or a Jedi. And if you don't have a lightsaber, then you have a gun. And it's harder to sell toys about characters fighting with guns.
Right.
You know? I mean,
lightsabers are cool.
lightsabers are really cool.
Yeah, you can play with them and make weird noises, and
So, okay.
So let's
just jump into it and just kind of go.
Yeah, all right. So first of all, as we've kind of established, we're talking about the gray area. The gray area is not the bounty hunters. So we're not. This episode isn't about the Aura Sings. This isn't about the Boba Fett's. This isn't that's not who we're talking about.
Well, the Boba Fett's a little bit.
He doesn't use a lightsaber.
No, he doesn't. But the Mandalorians have the dark saber.
Oh fuck! You got me.
Damn
it! You got me.
So
all right.
It gets a little tricky.
All right.
Okay.
But we're not talking about strictly bounty hunters. We're not talking about underground. We're not talking about the hut gangsters.
At the real heart of it, we're talking about the Force, right?
The Force. This
Yes.
is people that can use lightsabers, can use the Force, but they're not. They don't fall into the category of being a Jedi or a Sith.
This is kind of an investigation into like what is Jedi, what is Sith, how does it relate to the Force?
Exactly. exactly.
What is the dark side?
Right.
What is the light side?
Right.
All right, here we go.
So, well, all right.
Okay.
Let's bring up the character that I feel is the...
Character near and dear to your heart.
Well, this is the character that, like... It's a character that was basically invented for the EU, right? And then brought into canon by GL himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a character who seems to have... he's remarkable because he seems to have captured George Lucas's imagination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the character we're speaking about is called Quinlan Vos. Okay? Quinlan Vos is a... I don't even know the best way to describe him.
In previous episodes, we've just referred to him as like the extreme surfer Jedi.
He's like a surfer dude Jedi, but he's also kind of like Native American / like reggae dude Jedi, right?
Very
like
rootsy, very like in tune with the earth kind of.
Yeah, he's got like face painting. Like
Yeah.
He has a strip of white that goes across his nose, which is very indicative of Native Americans.
Sure.
And yet he has like dark black hair and dark skin, which is also
Dreadlocks.
but he has dreadlocks,
Yeah.
right? And more so like depending on what medium he's portrayed in.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes in comics, which there's an entire comic omnibus devoted to him.
Which I would generally write off, if not for the fact it's written by John Ostrander, who's a really good comic
And
writer.
John Ostrander is basically who created this character.
Right, because he shows up in the Phantom Menace. He's canon.
He's canon. He shows up in the Clone Wars too. In Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah, in the Clone Wars, he's got a whole arc. Yeah.
Right. In Phantom Menace, he shows up. He's hiding out on Tatooine. And he shows up. If you blink your eye, you'll miss it. But he's in the scene where Qui-Gon and Anakin and Jar Jar and Padme are walking through the farmer's market area of Tatooine, and Jar Jar is, kind of grabs that animal, piece of meat, whatever, and gets himself into trouble. But if you look in the background,
gets stuck in something.
yeah, it gets, Sebulba gets angry, and it's a whole thing.
Oh boy,
slapstick, funny, ha-has. But if you look in the background, but if you look in the background, like there's a character that is clearly this Quinlan Vos.
And this reminds me a lot of, you mentioned Aura Singh, very similar kind of thing where it was a character where I was like, wow, this character is awesome watching the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I was like, where'd they come from? And I found out they're in the Phantom Menace. I rewatch it and it's like, oh, for like a frame.
Right, because it's something that like George Lucas saw, like somebody came up with a character design that he liked and he's like, yeah, I'm going to throw it in my movie. Like, you guys figure out how it works later.
Yeah, well, it's like, here's a toy.
Yeah.
And
that's totally Aura saying. She doesn't really even appear in the movies after that one little...
She's just in the pod race scene where, literally it just
scene.
shows her, watching from a distance.
Yeah, and they've expanded her into Clone Wars into a real character, but...
and this is a time-honored Star Wars tradition going back to Boba Fett.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is, plot devices.
Yes.
Plot devices, right? So Quinlan Vos is like this Jedi. He wasn't really trained at the Jedi Temple, but he has Force abilities.
Mm-hmm.
He is a Jedi. Like the Force Temple has recognized him as a Jedi, but he's kind of like a rogue Jedi.
Yeah.
There's a
self-taught.
Yeah. Like there's a good arc, or not even an arc. There's one episode. I think it's like the Hunt for Hero the Hutt. Or Zero the Hutt, right?
Yes.
Where they team Quinlan Vos up with Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's a great episode.
And it's funny because it's like, as we talked about before, like Obi-Wan is very like straight-laced, by the book, repressed Jedi.
Stick in the mud.
Right? And here you have, him teamed up with like surfer dude, whatever, man.
Yeah.
You're going to go with the flow and, kind of messing with Obi-Wan the entire time.
Totally.
And it's a fun episode, and it's a fun, like, why didn't we get more of this character?
Well, he shows up a few times in the Clone Wars, right?
He does, and I believe there's actually a character arc of his that was cut for whatever reason, didn't make it into the show, and that is what's going to be the upcoming book.
Yes.
The Dark Disciple.
The Asajj Ventress book.
Asajj Ventress / Quinlan Vos book.
Right.
So, that brings us to Asajj Ventress.
Well, before we get there, I mean, Quinlan Vos was an interesting kind of anachronism. Almost deserves kind of his own show or something once we read his book.
Yeah.
But what the thing that makes him interesting in this point of view is that he has force powers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has force powers.
But like not like regular force powers.
Right. He has like a force power where he can touch objects and like find out history from those objects.
Yeah.
Which is something we've not really seen before.
This is
in the
one of those
Jedi.
things that percolates through the Star Wars like filter, and it's like, is this real? Is this Star Warsy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's more analogous to something like a Nightsister. Someone who's
which is interesting because
Yeah.
I've been like trying to get through his omnibus, and his omnibus, two things.
Yeah.
Touches on the Nightsisters. Like he actually is like infiltrating the Nightsisters. For whatever reason, some of the storylines are a little convoluted.
It's
but
funny because you'd think they'd spot him right away. It's like, you're not a pale woman.
there's a whole nother like level of like
Of course.
creature thing going on.
The gray of the gray.
There's a gray of the gray.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit like, come on already.
Yeah.
Right, but he also, and this is near and dear to your heart, the Twi'leks are involved.
Oh, of course. My
In
favorites.
fact, Quinlan Vos is...
An honorary Twi'lek.
No, but
Oh.
his Padawan is a Twi'lek, and is a Twi'lek that is in canon.
Oh.
She's Ayala, whatever. She's the sexy blue Twi'lek that we see in Sith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she has like the midriff showing sexy blue.
Oh,
Twi'lek.
right, yeah.
Right, that's his Padawan.
Yes.
Right, so
Lucas's attempt to show us that, like, hey, it wasn't. They're not all strippers.
right,
They just dress like
they
it.
just dress like that.
Yeah.
Yes, which is funny because like we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Totally Lucas's issue because in the comic they show her and she's like fully dressed, like there's no scantily clad.
Wow.
This
is Lucas.
Lucas is like, yeah, we need to sex her up. A
Yeah, I like the idea. Like, Lucas is like, she comes out in her full Jedi outfit, and he's like,
No.
"Can we take that midriff out? Can I take that midriff out?" He's like, "What do you mean? Cut her shirt in half.
yeah,
Put blue paint on her tummy." It's like, what?
yeah. Make her boobs bigger.
It's like,
where are you coming
horrible,
from?
Lucas.
Lucas, come on.
So he's dealing with the Force in a kind of an untrained Jedi way.
Yeah.
He's dealing his moral code
His moral
aligns
code
with
is-
the Jedi, but
But not always.
well, because the Jedi are kind of stick on the mud.
Right.
Yeah, and he's
so
more
his
of a
moral
living Force guy.
Exactly. So his moral code is a little bit like in question.
Which, if you want to be a nitpicker, it's kind of like, so he sees the only other Jedi who's like a total like rogue hippie, Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not gonna say hi. I've got some stuff going on.
You're right. Like,
You know.
the chosen one, whatever.
What?
The chosen one.
Yeah, yeah, he's just really vain. I didn't really get about that in the character. But yeah, so he's kind of like, the way he's accessing the light side of the Force and aligning with principles of established religious sect,
Yes.
the Jedi.
Yeah.
It's similar how the Nightsisters are accessing a dark side of the Force without actually being Sith, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The gray.
The gray.
Yes.
Yeah. It makes me think about like the comment that Uncle Owen said, like, you know, when they're talking about Obi-Wan or Ben Kenobi,
Yeah.
right? Oh, that man's just a crazy old wizard.
Yeah.
Like apparently there are crazy old wizards that aren't Jedi.
Well, it kind of makes sense, right? There's Force wielders out there, people who are born with the Force ability but never harness it. And it's like, yeah, there used to be Jedi and Sith, but now it's like some wizards and some, you know.
Yeah, there's magicians
Yeah.
and, you know,
It's more like,
Penn and Teller.
yeah, it goes from like con artist, magician,
Right.
wizard,
That's funny.
grand
like,
wizard.
Con artists. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Like, you know, con artist Jedi. Like, they're
Yeah.
not actually Jedi, but they're like actually like just people who have mastered like sleight of hand.
Well, it's interesting because like the Force seems to play into people's day-to-day work life too. Like, long time favorite of the show of Watto, is Force insensitive.
Oh yeah,
Like,
right.
you can't Jedi mind trick him because he's like Force invulnerable.
Yes.
So this is part of his day-to-day life. It's like, I'm a great bargainer because you can't mess with me.
Yeah, you can't outdeal me or.
So so it is kind of already built into the structure of the universe. It's like, well, if you're going to be a junk dealer, it's really advantageous to not be, same with Jabba.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It goes back to Jabba and the OT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
plot device, but it's a plot device that had its seeds in the original movies.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
But I think the issue really is, like, we were told that there were Jedi, and we were told that there were Sith, and there's no in-between. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's something that Lucas wanted to address with the Clone Wars.
Sure.
Right?
I think that this is an issue that is some fans are going to take issue with in the future.
Oh, certainly.
Right? Because, I mean, the plot's moving forward. We've I don't know if we've done like just a full episode of like the balance of the Force.
Well, I think we covered it a lot in
the Rule of Two.
One of our two Darth Vader episodes. The
Anakin and Darth Vader.
Yes,
back-to-back episodes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the names of those.
Anakin, you feel the love tonight.
Anakin, you feel the love tonight, and
Darth,
love in an elevator.
Yeah.
Love in an elevator.
Yeah. Vader. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we covered a lot.
We're so witty.
Yeah. But just to kind of reiterate that, so there's this rule of two.
Yes.
Right?
There can only be two.
There's a master and apprentice Sith.
Yes.
Because the Sith need the power of an apprentice, but they also need someone who's going to.
If you read if you read the Darth Bane episode, the novels, like that is explained well, and it's all about like the Sith were warring against each other, so Darth Bane narrowed it down to two. Yeah. Right.
Yes, and that's a whole thing. And Bane is a canon character because he shows up in Clone Wars. And that's kind of dealt with in a lot of those EU books. There used to be they were the same as the Jedi. There was like hundreds, maybe thousands of them, but they started warring against each other, and it's like, we're not focused on what we're trying to do, and so they started moving to the shadows. Yes. There's a master and apprentice. Now the whole thing about the Chosen One, Annie, little Annie, is that it's an ancient prophecy. I don't know if they go into how old, millennia, 1,000 years, 100 years,
idea.
10 years,
could
5
be
years.
Like, it could be 6 months.
Remember like 6 months ago they said there's a prophecy? I found them.
That thing I was talking about yesterday? Ancient.
Yeah. Well, time moves so fast. They have such high technology.
Right.
But so Annie's thing is he's supposed to bring balance to the Force. Now, balance to the Force is a thing that's much discussed among Star Wars fans. What that actually means?
Yeah, and honestly, until you read me a theory / definition that somebody wrote on the internet about, I did not have a clear idea of what the balance of the Force is. Yeah,
because we've talked about this before. It's like, well, what does balance mean? Because it seems like in George Lucas's mind, I think a lot of fans' minds, we think balance means equal number of
if
light and
there's
dark.
2 Sith, you have 2 Jedi.
There can be no light without darkness.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
But in George Lucas's mind, it's no Sith.
No Sith.
All Jedi, no Sith is balanced.
That's not balanced.
That's what I thought until I saw this was a comment thread I pulled off of Making Star Wars, where someone started off as being like, and they're talking about The Force Awakens.
Sure, because this is how are we moving forward? Like, did Luke's accomplishments in Return of the Jedi mean nothing?
Right. And so his thing was started out, goes, I seriously hope this was Hinning Exar Kun Berg Shi. I'm sure that's the exact pronunciation.
Sure.
I surely hope there are no dark side users in the movie. Force users that are evil are okay, but if anyone found out how the Sith perverted the Force to create dark side, that would really take away from the end of Jedi. And going on to say, Anakin brings balance to the Force through being redeemed by his son, only for the Force to go out of balance again just 30 years later. Now this is something where I was like, well, what's that mean? Now they go on. There's a long thread here. It's very interesting.
Sure.
But basically, the concept being that like Lucas imagines the Force like imagine a human body. The human body is in balance when you're healthy.
Okay.
The Sith and the dark side are cancer. So it's the same cells of your body
Okay.
perverted into something wrong.
Okay. All right.
So by destroying the Sith, you bring balance to the Force. Okay?
Yes.
Anakin was the chosen one to bring balance to the Force.
Okay. He's like the cure for cancer.
He's the cure for cancer.
Gotcha.
Now, Obi-Wan freaks out when he turns evil because it turns out he is cancer. But at the end of the movie, Return of the Jedi, spoilers,
Yes.
kills the Emperor and then takes off his mask, thus killing himself.
Yes.
Thus killing the only two, because there's a rule of two.
Right.
Thus killing the only two Sith.
All the cancer is wiped out.
All the cancer is wiped out. So effectively, in a roundabout way, he's the cure for cancer then.
Okay. All right.
Now,
all right.
The issue comes up where we see Kylo Ren. He looks evil. Right? Kylo Ren?
Yeah, no. Now I'm questioning, like, okay, so how did Anakin bring balance to the Force if he became the cancer?
Well, because he's the only one who can get close enough to the Emperor to do that. He becomes evil, but he also creates Luke, who is the New Hope. And Luke turns him back to good, which then he kills the Emperor.
So Anakin
was the only one who could go...
he will create balance to the Force.
Yeah.
But what they're saying is, like, might not be today.
Might not be today.
Might be after his kid grows up and becomes like 20-something.
Well, it took a few years. Like, you might say, well, Mace Windu was just about to kill the Emperor. That would have ended it right there. But you would forget the evil was already in Anakin's heart. It's a conundrum.
It is.
It's a monkey's paw
so
type
what you're
situation.
saying is, like, okay, so, I go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, sorry, you got cancer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't worry, though. We got a cure.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, awesome. So, like, I'll take the cure and be like, oh, I won't have cancer. I can, I'll go through some treatment and be like, I won't have cancer in, like, a couple of years. I'll be cancer free.
Sure.
No. You're gonna have kids, and when they grow up, and could it possibly have kids of their own?
Yeah.
That's when the cancer is gonna be gone.
Right. This is actually more of a fertility serum.
Yeah.
Than anything.
So basically, what you're saying is, like, I'm still, like, I have cancer. I'm gonna have it for quite a while.
Yes.
Damn it.
So it's much like I was saying, a monkey's paw type situation where what you wish for also is the bad thing.
Sure.
It's kind of like that episode of The Simpsons, where it's
with the monkey's paw.
Yeah, where it's the but it comes with free Frogurt. Oh, good.
Yeah.
But the Frogurt is also cursed. Like,
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. So now the concept is, well, if that was his whole purpose, it was an ancient prophecy.
Yeah.
Was the prophecy really just for 30 years? It's like, well, fuck, man. I waited 100 years for this, and it turns out it's 30 years of peace? It wasn't even good peace because we were at war the whole time? There's no Sith?
Well, okay, so...
Because believe it or not, the Sith weren't half as bad as all the blaster fire.
Or...
Yeah.
There's only 2 Sith, but there's a bunch of other Dark Jedi around. Like, oh, that's great. We killed off the 2 guys. Yay us.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of other dark guys that we didn't really... that don't...
I guess I should have stipulated in my wish that I not only wanted to get rid of the Sith, I wanted to get rid of all evil, gymnastic, acrobatic, like, lightsaber wielders.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about the gray area. Okay, so I think this is a common misconception that we're trying to clear up tonight on our show. Okay?
This morning.
Yes. Whenever we're talking about this.
We're back in the time.
We're always lost in time on this show.
Ugh.
So I'm trying to get this straight.
Yeah.
Because some of this is like what we read into this as fans, and some of it is actually said in the movies, and we're like, okay, well.
And then other things are said in merchandising boxes and other things. Yeah.
Right? So.
Because the answer to your question about when the Sith is first canonized.
Yeah.
It's in the script. It's here. It's there.
Yeah.
It's it's like, well, it was first said in like the prequels, but it's been around forever.
I feel like it's said in the crawl. I feel like one of the crawls says Sith.
Maybe
first.
Who knows?
I don't know. He probably could watch the movies again, but
Probably
who
Google
has
it
the time?
better.
Yeah.
Who has the
Okay.
time?
Luke is like they're constantly in fear of Luke turning over to the dark side. Right?
Obi and
Yoda. And Yoda, right? They're also well, okay, let's just focus on Luke for a second.
Yeah.
Right?
The New Hope.
The New Hope, right? So
because Vader was the old Hope, and he turned out to be a bad Hope.
Yeah, he was bad Hope. I love that one. Star Wars Episode 15, A Bad Hope.
A bad Hope. A little weak Hope. Could have been better Hope.
It could have been better Hope. So Luke goes off to battle Vader and,
Save his friends.
Save his friends, right? And, beware the dark side, this is a terrible time for you, susceptible to the dark side you are, blah, blah, blah.
Sensual.
I always fast forward through this part of the movie, blah, blah, blah. So if Luke, killed his father, right? That makes him that makes him turn to the dark side.
I think that is definitely a theme in this series, is that anytime you try and force out against something,
yes,
it's going to come back in the ass.
Use the force and aggression for revenge or personal.
Last episode we talked about Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul,
right?
Bit him in the ass and then chopped off Vader's legs.
I think the distinction here, maybe the common misperception, is that if Luke turned to the dark side, that didn't automatically make him a Sith.
Right.
That's the misconception. You can turn to the dark side, but if you join up with this cult afterward, then you're a Sith.
Yeah, it's kind of imagine in comparison to Catholicism. If you wanted to be Catholic, you go to Mass every Sunday, etc., 50 odd years, whatever.
Yeah.
You're a Catholicism fan. You're a Christ user.
Okay.
I'm a
Christ user.
You're a Christ user.
Nice.
You're not actually Catholic, because the only Catholics are the Pope and his right-hand man.
The Cardinal.
Well, there's a bunch of cardinals.
Cardinal.
There's a bunch of cardinals.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The main cardinal.
The main guy.
The main cardinal.
Yeah, number 2. So
Mini Pope.
Yeah, Mini Pope. Pope and Mini Pope are the only Catholics. Everyone else is a Christ user.
Okay.
Weird, right?
Yeah. Okay. Weird.
Yeah.
So,
but that's how that works.
That's how this gray area is working.
Okay.
I can turn to the dark side, and the Sith might want me to join up with them.
Yeah.
Because they're always looking for another member so they can kill off one of their members.
Right. And this was something that.
But if I don't turn to the dark side, I'm not susceptible. They don't want me in their club, right? It's kind of it's an elite club. First you have to, prove that you're. You have to prove that you're a. I'm trying not to go racist here.
Okay.
Right?
It's a hard battle. What are you trying to say?
So, apologies. I don't mean to offend anybody, but this was the way of the world at a certain point. And maybe still is. I'm just trying to make an analogy.
Oh, got it.
Okay?
Biting my fingernails.
I want to join a country club.
Okay. Yes.
I'm trying not to, but I'm just trying to understand this.
Yeah. Okay.
All right? I'm trying to join a country club.
Yeah.
Right? And I am an African American.
Uh-huh.
And the country club doesn't really allow African Americans in.
Okay.
Or let's say, because that's the color of his skin, let's just say I want to join a country club. And I'm Woody Allen. I'm a Jewish.
Well, let's put it another way. I want to have a good paying job.
Yes.
And I'm a woman.
Okay, good. That's a little bit less risky, right?
Yeah.
Although, apologies to women.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah, it's only half the population.
Yeah, right. This is
still
well, they're not listening to us. Star Wars podcast. Apologies to any women that are listening.
And I want to be a Star Wars fan.
Okay. No, yeah, no. I mean, this is. I mean, we're touching on a nerve here, but this is
because we're talking about the dark side here.
But it's like you can't be a member of our club until you prove that you're worthy to be a member of our club.
Well, yeah.
And worthy isn't really the right word, but you need to be until you prove that you're one of our kind. Okay.
Sure.
So if you're a Jedi, we're not letting you into the Sith country club. Okay? But if you're a dark Force user, we'll look at your application.
You can tell that neither of us went to a state school, because this is a much less risque way to go about this would be to talk about joining a frat.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So you're saying all frats are evil?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. As evil as Sith, at least. And country clubs, too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like any club that's going to exclude members or exclude people because of whatever is evil.
Yeah. So the issue here is that you can believe all this stuff, you can do all this stuff, but it really is not going to make you a candidate at best.
Right. You can be a dark side Force user, but you're not a Sith.
So as hard as it is to become
or a Jedi.
Right.
Well, no, you can be a dark side user, but you can still be a Jedi.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Well, here's the deal with here's walking it back a bit.
Yeah.
I feel like we touched a hot button for not necessarily any good reason.
Well,
but,
we're trying to understand.
Right. We're just trying to talk it through. Backing it up, to be a Jedi, though, is even worse. Because I guess if you compare it to the Shaolin monks.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So when we say Jedi, we're generally thinking of the Jedi Order. We're talking about lightsaber wielders. Those are actually knights of the Jedi Order.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So like the Shaolin monks they're Buddhists. Right?
Yes.
So if I'm not Force sensitive, but I believe that these guys can levitate stuff with their mind, so they must be on the right path, right?
Sure.
I want to at least follow that path, even if I can't levitate things with my mind and use lightsabers.
Okay.
Star Wars not really deals with who those people are. We know Star Wars.
Right.
We know that we know the Jedi Knights hire people to clean the temple.
Yeah.
We know that they hire people to do things, but we know that Han Solo refers to the Jedi as a hokey religion.
Yes.
But we don't actually see any members of this religion other than people who fight.
Yeah, it's not like I can... I have no abilities in the Force whatsoever, but I follow the Jedi as a religion.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe there are people out there. Maybe they're
just haven't covered it yet.
Yeah.
So, and that's where you start getting to stuff where it's like, well, we need to tell a new story, and you're in a writer's room, and it's like, well, what about, how does this actually work? Who are those people? What's that?
Well, okay. We're almost an hour into this episode, and we talked about a bunch of video game bullshit early in this episode, and we're now uncovering how these cults work.
Yeah.
Right. Did the story group have they gotten this far? I wonder how granular is it just us two idiots sitting at a table talking about this stuff?
We started off
is there a plan written down on paper that was handed down from George Lucas to be okay, this is how it works?
Well, there's no plans, but there's a prophecy.
No. I want to see the written paper from George Lucas to be okay, it's like a country club.
Yeah, it's like that's the real reason JJ moved away from the draft, because it was extremely racist.
Right.
That's so offensive to George Lucas. We've gone as big as we can. I think we started off trying to do a character.
Yeah.
We did Quinlan Vos. We started touching on the Nightsisters. Let's just keep going through characters a little bit and seeing what the story group has.
Okay.
Because when we talk about the gray areas, characters that were never intended for, one of the first things I think of is Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka Tano, who is a Padawan of Anakin, who is a master.
Well, she walked away by choice
from
the cult.
Yes. I mean, that's later.
Let's just say call it what it is, right?
That's cool.
It's a cult.
Sure.
There's 2 cults that we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
One has a membership of 2 people. The other one has an open membership. You just have to give up all earthly belongings.
And you have to be drafted in it as an infant.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a time limit.
Yeah.
Age limit and, like, which one sounds more evil?
Yeah, right, yeah. And I think that was a lot of the point of the prequels was that there was a lot of gray area between the 2.
Yeah. Okay, so Ahsoka is the first gray area.
So with the Clone Wars, when I first actually got into it, I got into it very late, and long-time listeners have heard this many, many times. You know, I put it all through the Star Wars filter, and Ahsoka Tano was one of the first things, because it was like, wait, but he has a master. How does he have a Padawan?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's like a third level that we've never seen before. Where'd that come from?
Right. Well, he was the chosen one. He gets a little bit...
He's not on the Jedi Council. He is on the Jedi Council. That was a...
messed with his head so much.
Oh, they did, man. And because they just kind of gave him this, like, faux Padawan.
Yeah.
To...
Oh, that would be an interesting plot line. Like, they give him a faux Padawan, and he thinks he's training her, but, like, on the side, like, Obi-Wan's actually training her.
Obi-Wan's giving the real information.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it went with Ahsoka.
Yeah, but Obi-Wan, as we discussed, messed up.
Right. Obi-Wan didn't actually train her.
Yeah. Obi-Wan didn't actually train anyone.
Yeah, true. So, I mean, that's... But we don't have a problem with that because Ahsoka's such a great character.
Yeah, well, she has a true heart to begin with. Like, she's not going to go off and, like, she's not going to be tempted by the dark side.
So, why is it that I react so negatively to something like the Inquisitor in Rebels? Which is essentially the same thing.
Well...
Inserting another layer of hierarchy that never existed before.
Right. And for one thing, we have no backstory on the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
Like, how did they become dark side users?
Yeah, like,
were they Jedi to begin with?
Do I level up from being one of those guys in the red cloaks to being an Inquisitor?
Right. No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Inserted is a good word.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's weird because it's like... So as, you know, now we've been doing this thing for almost a year. We've been talking about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is clearly inherited from the EU. Like, Inquisitor level is totally kind of a Prince Shizor.
Plot device.
Yeah. Because it's dealing with the fact that you can't have Vader everywhere all the time. But you need to have a conflict.
Right. So. Which, apparently, Season 2 of Rebels is rectifying. No, we can have Vader everywhere now.
Yeah. And Inquisitors. Because they have another Inquisitor,
there's more Inquisitors, right.
Yeah, so... while we're on Rebels, Ezra and Kanan. These are also new things.
Yes. Kanan
less so.
Less so, because he's never really...
He was trained in the Jedi Temple, but he didn't quite beat out Padawan before.
And I don't see any of Kanan's actions really... Although he did kill an Inquisitor. I don't see Kanan's actions really veering towards the dark side, whereas Ezra seems a little bit more out of control with his emotions.
Ezra is a true...
His parents are missing.
Force-sensitive, not trained in the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a Quinlan Vos, you might say.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's the new level of hierarchy for that, is that good guys...
Yes, true. I was going even more darker than that, is like he could become a true dark side user.
Not a Sith.
No.
Dark side user.
Not a Sith.
PC.
Yeah.
Okay. So this also goes back to we talked about this a lot in our Love in an Elevator episode.
Yep.
Force wielders, which we saw in the Mortis trilogy of Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, the
godlike beings.
The Force, the people that actually like embody the Force.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those people are actually more the Force-faced people from
Force people. Oh. The Yoda arc?
From the Yoda arc, yes. At the end.
That confuses the issue for me completely.
Yeah, that's getting to a level of goofiness where we have god beings.
Right.
Which is another level of hierarchy now being added into this.
Although goofy seems to be everyone... I haven't heard any outcry from fans being like, this bullshit.
Do you think everyone... Do you think they'll make it to Season 6?
Well, let's watch Season 6. Let us know what you think.
But I do know a lot of people who praise that Yoda arc.
Right? Like, I think... I would... I don't have an opinion on it. I need to rewatch it, I think. It is goofy, but...
We've long talked about doing an episode about that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So that's another level of hierarchy. So now we don't only have top Sith, top Jedi, Padawans, apprentices. We now also have apprentices, which are assassins.
Apprentice-I.
Yes, apprentice-I. And we also have Force users. We have dark side users.
Yeah.
And we have...
So we have characters like Asajj Ventress.
Who is a...
She's essentially
She's
dark side apprentice to Dooku, who's a Sith.
Yes, Dooku is...
So there can be only two, is again another thing that Jedi just get wrong.
And this is where this gets all fucked up. Because Dooku is the apprentice in the Sith equation.
Right.
Palpatine's the Emperor.
Right.
Because Darth Maul was killed, so he's taken over, but Darth Maul's not killed. Darth Maul's still alive.
Yeah,
so
that gets where it's really fucked
So
up.
he's no longer a Sith. He's been excommunicated because he failed, I guess. So he's been downgraded to dark side user.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Like, when do you become a Sith?
When the Emperor says so, I guess. When the top Sith says you're in, I guess.
So, Anakin
And you get your
became a
name.
Sith, like, immediately. Like, you're in.
Yeah, after he killed Dooku.
Right. He killed Mace.
Yes.
Right? That's when he's in.
Yeah.
It's like, I knight you.
I vouch for you.
Darth
Vader.
I'm thinking Vader.
Hey, you have kids on the way, right? What's another word for father? Vader.
Vader.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Vader. That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a respirator down the road. What? No, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Your mask will be cool, though.
Yeah, Darth Vapor. Darth Vapor? No, Darth Vader. Okay, so,
like, I'm
oh, sorry.
the whole thing of, like, okay, so Dooku became a Sith afterwards, after Darth Maul, because, like, apparently the Emperor Palpatine did not sense that Darth Maul was still alive. Although, come on, as far as Sith go, Darth Maul's kind of a weak Sith.
Right. Well, the Darth Plagueis novel deals with a lot of this too.
Yeah.
And talks a lot about how, like, well, Dooku looked like a Sith, but he was a Dark Jedi.
Can we just say that Dark Plagueis is
Canon.
Canon?
I mean,
like,
it feels
that novel,
like
it's got to be canon. Like,
mean,
there's so much tied to it that it can't not be canon at this point.
It feels like that,
right?
Yeah.
Right? So, Darth Maul, yeah, he was a Sith, but not really. Like, I feel like Asajj Ventress was a little bit more capable of being a Sith than he was.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, at least she survived. She didn't get her cut in half.
Yeah. So, okay. I feel like we're kind of going off the rails.
Well,
here.
we're just talking about, like, so Sith can have dark apprentices.
Yes.
Right? But Jedi can have Padawans.
Right.
But eventually the Sith, if you take on a dark apprentice, eventually, if he wants to become a Sith, he may kill you.
Yeah.
That's
how it is.
Messed up logic here.
And so these Inquisitors also, that's another EU thing. Mara Jade started as a hand of the Emperor.
Emperor's hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which seems like Inquisitor level.
It does seem like Inquisitor level. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, if anything, Mara Jade is like the crux of this whole gray area.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's the one. Like, she wasn't trained as a Jedi. She was trained as a dark apprentice. Yeah. Right?
It's so weird, too. It's
assassin.
Like, I just want to see that conversation, too. Like, talking to the Emperor or whoever. And it's like, so this is great. I'll be a Sith soon, huh? I was like, well, kinda. Oh, well, you're going to be a dark... you're going to be a dark force user. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Sith is...
See, very few people ever get the chance. Yeah. Hey, there's not a lot of Dark Force users. Right. You're lucky. You're already an exclusive player.
You're already in a elite group.
Hey, look at you.
Look at you.
So, it's like very condescending.
It's
really,
funny, but, like, if you're gonna, like, play this stuff out,
yeah,
like, these conversations have to happen.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right? A little bit.
I mean, at some point you have to ask somebody, like, so when do I get to that?
When
do I move on? Like, I've been doing this for, like, 2 years.
Is the Sith coming?
Yeah, like when do I get the operate OT6 in Scientology? So I guess what it comes down to also is like, what is the dark side? Because I think that's the operational word for the Sith. I hadn't thought about that until I read this thread.
All right.
But like the concept that the Force is a bunch of stuff, and you can use the Force for anything. I mean, you could argue that Obi-Wan, we talked about last episode, telling the drug dealer trying to sell him death sticks to go home and rethink his life and force him to do that.
Kind of dark side.
Yeah,
manipulating minds.
Well, it's not say dark side. It's using the Force in
a dark way.
Yeah, in an immoral way.
Okay.
So that's apparently permissible. Whereas the dark side is Force lightning, and that's bad.
Oh, see, no. I don't think of it that way. Okay. What I think of it is like, so you use the Force for a bad reason. Okay, like to manipulate minds. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
We're looking for. Obi-Wan cuts Maul in half. Like, that's using the Force for a bad way.
Yeah.
Right? And you kind of have, like, a scorecard. Okay?
Okay.
And you rack up enough of those dark side ways, dark Force ways. Like you get your card stamped like 10 times. And you can get that.
You get one Force lightning.
That gets you into the dark side.
Okay.
Right?
That's how I always used to think
it's just, it's like the more you do bad things, the more you're like, on the dark side. Right? Okay? And then, like, the Force lightning thing, I think that's like Sith level.
Yeah.
Right? That's like, you can't just be like a dark side user and be like, throw out the Force lightning.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a Sith, a specific Sith
That's
teaching.
Sith level. Because, like, say there's a bunch of dark side users, right? And it's just kind of a common thing. Like, they're running into them. Like, there's Asajj Ventress, there's Inquisitors, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
And then one of them throws out Force lightning. They're like, WTF. Like, oh, you're more than just a dark side user. You're one of them Sith that I've been hearing about.
Oh, damn.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So, it's...
it catches Luke off guard, right?
Okay.
Like, he didn't know there was lightning.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. Yeah.
Right?
So, like, it's weird, though, because it's like, so Sith is a specific teaching, but it's got to be more than just Force lightning. Like, maybe it has something to do with, like, so we know the Emperor...
I think it involves sacrificing virgins.
Well, maybe, arguably.
Yeah.
So we know that the Emperor was literally casting a shroud over all Jedi on Coruscant.
Yes.
Like, right?
Yes.
Maybe
From the
that's
center of the galaxy out.
It doesn't seem like Jedi can, like, control people's minds en masse like that.
Doesn't seem like it, no.
So, like, that's got to be a Sith thing. Like,
Right.
it's like, you can control up to...
Which is the theory of why the
20,000.
rebels won in Jedi. Like, as soon as Vader threw the Emperor off of down the pit,
Yeah.
like, the shroud was gone, and that lifted. The shroud was lifted, and that's why the rebels were able to come in and
It's
win.
like, well, suddenly my targeting's way better.
Yeah, like all of a sudden I'm like, I feel
kind of drunk earlier.
I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't have that level of dread that I used to feel.
Yeah, I'm not feeling so anxious and shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's an old theory. Like, I heard about that even back when the movies were like, maybe when the EU was just starting.
That's a total Sith thing for sure. Then.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good power to have.
Yeah, like,
I mean, it's like to influence minds and just be
I mean, clearly Palpatine is like, he's like Sith numero uno. Like, he, of all the Sith, like, he was able to wage a war, controlling everything.
So that brings up a great point.
Yeah. Because
we're coming up on the hour 12 minute mark.
Yeah.
So going forward, Emperor's supposedly dead.
Yes.
Vader dead. Kylo Ren looks pretty bad. Looks like a bad guy.
Yeah.
So we're going to call him a dark side user for now.
I think we have to call him a dark side user.
Yes.
Right? But I've heard he is, like, interested in the Sith ancient history.
So we're in this kind of Kobayashi Maru scenario.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And that's a Star Trek reference.
Still don't know what you mean.
Never heard of it. So where there's kind of no easy way out, because on the one hand, we have 6 movies that are kind of predicated around this concept of a prophecy that brings balance to the Force.
6 movies and a TV show.
And a TV show.
2 TV shows, really.
That's kind of like the
In
new
comic.
Community thing.
In
6
comic.
movies and a
That's right.
TV show. Okay, so 6 movies and a TV show, 2 TV shows.
Yeah, and comics and books.
And comics and books, etc. It's breakfast cereal. All predicated around the idea that...
Video games.
Yeah, and video games. Well,
Yeah,
they're not all canon. Predicated around the idea that there is a prophecy that Anakin will bring balance to the Force.
Yeah.
It culminates, all of those,
Yeah.
except for that new video game that hasn't come out yet, culminate with balance coming to the Force, people celebrating.
Right.
The Empire being destroyed.
Cancer's gone. Cancer is gone. Cure
Yes.
for cancer. Luke Skywalker.
Right.
There you go. Boom.
Or Anakin. By
Well,
de facto.
yeah, the de facto.
Yeah. So new film, Empire is not really gone. I have started to
New
learn.
Order.
Yeah, there's New Order. It's
Yeah.
Empire, Rebels, Gray Area, 30
Right.
Years of War. It didn't really end.
Right.
Conflict did not end.
Right. Aftermath, the book that's coming out later this year, will
Tell us.
tell us what we need to know.
And so I'm slowly coming around to being like okay with that. Like okay, it didn't end. Fair enough.
All right.
But now the other thing is, so Sith wiped out. Now we've identified the Sith as a specific kind of teaching.
Yes. Cult of 2.
Right. So if that's wiped out, either in this Kylo Ren, a Dark Force user, either going to have to be very PC and very careful about, like, he's a Dark Force user, it's a new thing, or B, do you think they'll introduce, so there's a new character, Snoke.
Yes.
His voice, what's his name?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis has been identified in the
Yes.
trailer as being the guy who says, have you felt it?
There's been an
Awakening in the Force.
The light side
and the dark.
dark.
So the dark side of the Force, which we have now come around to thinking that like that's a Sith exclusive. Like there's using the Force like an asshole, and there's the dark side, right? And like,
Don't be a Force asshole.
don't be a dick with the Force, okay? But but Sith is specific. It's like I have the power
He
to
doesn't
Force
say
lightning,
that, but he doesn't say there has been an awakening. The Jedi and the Sith.
no, but he says the light and the dark.
He does say the light and the dark.
And the dark, we're kind of now thinking is like a specifically Sith thing. The rest is just using the Force like a dick. There's Force, which is health, good, and whatever. And I can use it to do whatever. Like Obi-Wan, like you forget destroyed,
I
go home and
see
rethink your life.
I see it the other way.
Okay.
I see it as like we wiped out the Sith, but there's still a dark side. Okay? Which makes his statement false. Like, did Luke wipe out the Sith, or did he wipe out the dark side?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
And what they're saying is Luke wiped out the dark side. So that puts everything we've theorized in this episode false.
Well, this comes back to George Lucas saying, and I guess that no longer matters because the new
Crazy old fool. Who's the fool? The fool? The fool who follows the fool.
the fool who creates the foolish universe. So his thing is that the no Sith equals balance.
Right.
The Sith are throwing it out of balance.
But there's still dark side.
Okay, so but like, how is that balance if there's because you're something the other way.
I am. Like, Luke didn't wipe out dark side, but they're saying he did.
Well, because all right.
They're saying he, like, everything was
Who's they? The comments I was reading earlier.
the teaser.
Okay.
The teaser says there has been an awakening. The light side and the dark.
The dark.
Or actually, it goes the other way.
The dark.
There has been an
and the
awakening.
Yeah.
The lights, the dark side.
And it shows the Millennium Falcon, which ties right back to Han Solo, the only other person not using the Force.
What they're saying is, Luke, at the end of Jedi, there was no good guys or bad guys anymore. Everything was rainbows and ponies.
There ain't no good guys.
There ain't no
bad
guys.
guys.
It's just you and I,
And we just can't
disagree.
agree. Yeah.
It all comes back to that. Good old Dave Mason.
Isn't it the truth? I think this is going to have to be WTF is the Force Volume 2.
No kidding. Like
You know,
we tried to answer questions and we just couldn't.
That's the thing. Looking into the Force, it just looks back into you.
You have final comments there? Someone trying to make sense of this conundrum?
I'm going to just kind of read this verbatim.
All right.
Okay. And so this is kind of long, so...
Okay.
All right. This is a comment from that Henning XR Kuhnberg She.
This was basically comments on the message board on making StarWars.net.
Yep, some Swedish guy from Union Oslo.
But he seems to know what he's doing. Hey, Swedish guy from Oslo, if you're listening to us, call in.
Yeah, I dare you. Sorry if I seem to have said dark side equals Sith. That was not my intention. There are, of course, different things. I know the Sith are their own cult because Lucas himself has said that the Force is in balance after Return of the Jedi when the Sith are destroyed and the dark side's gone. So that means that by the time of Return of the Jedi, the Sith are the ones creating the dark side through their teachings. So other dark side users are not a part of Lucas's universe after Return of the Jedi because if they were, the Force would not be in balance.
Okay.
Follow me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Going back to the quote. A person that uses the Force does not use the dark side just because they happen to be an evil person. Twisting/perverting the Force and doing evil things are not synonymous with each other. Okay?
Yes.
Follow me?
Yes.
Kylo Ren can be an evil person, but if he does not know how to pervert the Force, then he is not creating a new dark side. Okay?
Yes.
So I'm evil. I'm using it to cloud people's minds, but I'm not twisting it to make Force lightning or whatever.
Okay.
My fear is that he'll be a dark side user because that means Anakin's story loses much of its gravitas if his sacrifice and redemption only lead to the Force being in balance for 30 years between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
Okay.
Follow me?
Yes.
Wouldn't bringing balance to the Force be destroying the dark side? Be kind of pointless if any new Force user that happens to be a bad person just put it out of balance again? I mean, new Force sensitive people are born all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems to me, this is, once again, that guy speaking as quote, it seems to me that the idea that any Force user that uses the Force to do bad things is a dark side user comes from RPG books and is not supported by Lucas and what he's said about the nature of the Force. Because it does seem kind of like an RPG thing, right? Like, well, you get 10 bad points, you go evil. Right?
Right, but...
And even the way you described it, where you were like, there's a scorecard, there's a punch card.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, the mathematical way of being good and evil, as opposed to it's a fine line.
It's a fine line.
Also, there's the X factor, too, of everything else has had the okay of one guy, George Lucas.
Right.
Whereas this is now a new thing. He had a script that was been thrown out, rewritten.
Right.
So it might very well now be dealing with the new concept of the Force.
This movie needs to come out now. These questions, because I'm getting a headache.
Right? Yeah.
This is a headache. I thought this was going to be a nice little episode. We'd have some answers. I got nothing.
I know. It's just mystery, right?
All right. Yeah. We apparently do not have the answers for this one.
Please call in. I hope this has sparked at least some interesting debate.
Join the conversation in this because I'm perplexed.
We are definitely looking for an answer.
Scratching my head here, I just don't know.
Oh.
I don't know if everything I said in this episode has been wrong
or right.
I don't know.
Seems like a great shroud of darkness has come over the podcast.
Right. Damn it! The dark side has awoken.
And the light. All right. Well, I think that's been another fantastic episode of SW Dog. Ron, how do you feel?
I feel confused but good.
And I feel granular. We'll see you next week, folks.
All right.
For the big year-ender, please call in.
Yes.